Wrestling fans, the road to Wrestlemania continues with Elimination Chamber, and future WWE Hall of Famer Marty Jannetty joins us L-I-V-E live for an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view watch-along. Watch the big event with friends, join the live chat, get an autograph, and help keep wrestling legends working. Set a reminder on YouTube for this special episode now and expect the unexpected.
Triple H is impressive on television, more impressive in person. John Cena, you meet him in person, it's like, in fact, Cena looked less size on television than in person.
Yeah.
He's more impressive when you see John. He's a freaking monster.
I think you'd say that about Mark Henry too. I don't think
Mark Henry don't look as big as
TV doesn't do him justice.
No, there's something about TV. He looks smaller on television. You meet him in person,
like
you go, holy. What in the world? And John Cena, I saw him one day in a pair of what do you call it, bikini underwears or whatever, in the dress room, and his freaking thighs, they had to be at least 34, 35 inches around. He got the hugest thighs. He got thighs like Ivan Puskett.
Really?
You remember how Puskett had these big old huge, that's how Cena legs are. But these big baggy pants he wear, hides it.
Do you think it was the genetics he received from John Cena Sr.?
Whatever it is, he's a monster. And the forearms like this. And then when you shake hands, we got these big, huge hands. You know what I'm saying? It's just like our president. When I first met President Trump, what surprised me, when he stood up, I looked up.
He's a tall guy.
6'4". He's about 2 inches taller than me.
I remember at the Hall of Fame.
It's a big man.
2013, right after Paul Bearer died, I went down. That was the year he was inducted, and I was surprised.
And that leave an impression on you.
Yep.
I hear little kids come up where they're grown ups now, but they met me when I was a kid. And when I came down that aisle, and they always talk about how they felt when they saw me in person for the first time. They said, you look big on TV, but then when I saw you in person, I couldn't believe it. I never saw a man like that in person.
I remember that as a fan when I was a little guy, the first time I saw Andre at the Boston Garden.
You never forget it. It's so impressive to see that. Well, Becky Lynch is probably, I would say, one of the toughest women in the WWE, but I don't see her to she got the on stage charisma, but not so much, I think, off stage.
Oh, fair enough, that's your opinion.
Yeah.
With the business being the state that it's in right now, and that is outside of independent wrestling, so to speak, it is an industry right now that's hurting popularity-wise. TV ratings are down big time. Live attendance is down big time. Merchandising is down big time. The fans, to a large degree, are resenting and not enjoying what's being presented to them. Do you think it is a wise move to present these women that the fans have, in large part, more fans that enjoy it do not, and have turned their noses at it? Would you present that as the main event at your biggest event of the year?
When I first worked for Vince Jr., first I worked for Vince Sr., you sound like, not criticizing you, because we all, you know, this
just
is
an opinion.
Just an opinion. I remember George Animal Steele, Chief J. Strongbow, Tony Guerrero, a lot of the old timers saying that Junior and what he's doing is going to kill the business. I heard it over and over and over and over. They say his gimmick going to kill the gimmick. I was there when they put the thing on Undertaker. In fact, me and Undertaker, if you look it up, we debuted the same night.
Right. Yep.
Saba Simba and Undertaker debuted the same night. They say Vince was going to kill the business. Nobody going to believe that a zombie.
Well,
and it became something about Vince McMahon. I don't know what it is. Vince believed in this: supply and demand. You see, a lot of us, me included, and I got in a fight with CM Punk over this. And then, thanks to John Morrison, he was able, and The Miz, they was able to get me to see what the supply, what the demand is today. This last, I watched politics on TV. I listen to Fox to hear the conservative point of view. I listen to CNN to hear the liberal point of view. While Fox was fussing about the Democrat was fussing about the Republican. 40% of our government became female. Nobody's paying attention.
Well, Tony, we've discussed that.
That's what Vinci. Now, let me explain this to you. There's a thing in this world. See, my grandmother on my mother's side was Cherokee. So she used to always talk to us about the spirit world.
Yeah.
They believe in man and earth, energy from the earth, energy from the sun, energy from this, energy from that. They figure man and earth is connected through, you know, their energy. Like you look at Stonehenge, you know, how did this do that, you know? So it's a lot of things that they, you know, because they was more connected to the earth than what we are. I read a story one time, I'm gonna try to make this as short as possible. I was reading about Jack Johnson becoming, at the turn of the 20th century, became the first black heavyweight champion of the world. The turn of the century, right? The 20th century.
Yeah.
The turn of the 21st century, Barack Obama became the first black president. In 1920, women got the right to vote. Next year is 2020, and 40%, Maine just got its first woman government. When you read the population, women's outnumber men's here in America. Almost, not quite, but almost 2 to 1. Almost. Women is going to take over. It's their time. Everybody had a time. We had the time of the minority. I was a part of it. All I had to do during the time of my being a minority, they were scared to put the belt on a black person back. I lived through that. Oh, you can't put the belt on a black person, it's going to kill the business.
Well, I don't think anyone's exactly scared to feature a woman in 2019.
That's how it was related to me.
But when
Ole Anderson told me,
Go ahead.
what is happening? More and more women, like the last Olympia, if it wasn't for the women's, we wouldn't have no medals. The guys did horrible.
Right.
The women did wonderful. I mean, you know, they just the first women to go and to win, you know, in soccer. I mean, it's a movement taking place that is unknown to us males.
Then why isn't it generating any interest?
It will.
When? It's declining.
No, it
Badly.
will. It will. Vince would not have him at main event. Believe me, he see it coming. He's looking at it down the road. See, we looking at it.
Well, when George Steele,
we are so used to instant. Well, you got to go back to Hogan, for example. Hogan was there in the '80s. Nothing.
What do you mean?
In WWF.
Yeah.
Hogan. Nothing. They got nothing out of him.
They got nothing out of Hogan?
No, I mean that's why I beat him. I mean he was not Hogan at that time.
I get okay.
Right. They couldn't get nothing. You know, he wasn't.
But business was still good.
Yeah, but
business is not good right now.
But 5 years later, Hogan couldn't draw you. Hogan couldn't draw you a quarter in '81. Couldn't draw you a quarter in '81. '85, he sold out every arena in the building, and I have seen it. But
in 1981, when he was there, when he had that first run as a heel managed by Freddie Blassie, the business was healthy. The business was healthy. What is healthy right now about seeing every popularity metric is going down
because it died down after Bruno. That's why they brought Bruno back to try to get it back up off the floor mat. Captain Lou Abada told me that's why they sent me to watch. He told me my first day in watch. He said, Tony, you got to take credit for this house. We ain't been drawing no money here for years. And they were telling me that about other buildings, but you know, because Backlund was not filling the buildings. I mean, Superstar packed them, Bruno packed them, but then after that transition from the Superstar to Backlund, it boom.
Well, you know, maybe we should have had David Reese here. I still believe there's a lot of people that don't want to see simulated violence with women. They don't enjoy it.
The world changing, brother.
As far as my personal view, I don't think the women work as well, as snug as the men, for the most part.
Well, I'll
say this. If a lot of the guys went out there and worked the way the women's did, they'd be castrated by the fans.
I'm going to tell you something else too, though, son. I go to the gym every day as a personal trainer.
Yeah.
The only people in the gym now that works out are the women.
Well,
The guys are on their freaking cell phone. They're lazy as hell. You can't get. I tried this trick one day.
let's hear it.
You go up to a 5-year-old little boy, right?
Yeah.
And you go, rah! He run behind his mama every time. You go up to a 5-year-old little girl and go, rah! She go, rah, back to you. We are changing. Man is becoming more feminine. Women are becoming more macho.
That's an interesting point of
telling
view.
you, and nobody pays attention because we stuck in our little corner. You know, we are stuck in our little corner where male is the dominant one, women are the submissive one, and what we are not paying attention to is going underneath the radar. 40% of this country is ran by female. I remember
We're
when you used to
talking
watch-
about pro wrestling right now.
Well,
Tony.
that's what I'm saying.
These 40% of the women in politics aren't interested in what's going on at WWE
No,
at WrestleMania.
but because of the push for the women interest, there's a whole new revenue out there. You take the
Why are
comment-
less people watching? If it stayed the same, I'd say okay. If it increased, I'd say push it. But when everything is going down, I don't see the benefit to it. Other than saying we're PC, we give women a chance. On Twitter, they started the hashtag Give Divas a Chance, which was great.
Well, see-
it's nice to see the women getting the push they have presented as athletes as opposed to pieces of ass. But at the same time, they didn't say give Divas 40% of the show. They said give them a chance. I think it's been overpushed, and it's becoming more of a turnoff. WrestleMania month, March is usually one of the biggest business months of the year for WWE. Why are they running house shows with less than 2,000 people paid if they're enjoying seeing these women so much?
Well, you got to realize one more thing,
Sure.
too. This is just the beginning. See, we're so used to instant gratification, we don't realize how long it took some of the men, but we got more patience when it comes to building man talent.
Fair.
We expect
Fair
the women to come right aboard
Fair
and do
enough.
what the men's do without. It's kind of like sending a minority kid to a school that have poor education, you know, and put them in a spelling contest against a kid that go to a highly school, and then you say, well, you had a whole month there. You ain't learned how to do algebra yet. You had a whole month at it. See, we expect them to right away, and then we looking more toward their failure. It's going to take time for.
It's been 4 years since they pushed it in a different way. Yes, in 2015 was when they started to present it more as women's wrestling as opposed
in 2015. I mean, how can the women get big? They just now having more than one freaking match on TV.
Right,
How
and
you
the
gonna get
more
big?
and more content they give the fans, the numbers go down.
And then when you look at the independent shows, it's like the women don't even exist. A lot of women quit.
Is that why the independents are doing so good right now?
Well, no. What it is, you have to give. I believe in giving things a chance.
They've given it almost 3.5 years at this point. And while I think they've been able to generate marketable stars with someone like Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, at the same time you have a large group of women. Not many of them stand out in any way, shape, or form. Their presentation in the ring, as far as their in-ring work, is not crisp. It's very light. Again, if it was a man in the ring working that light, they'd be castrated and wouldn't have a job.
See, it's not.
I like good professional wrestling no matter what the gender is. There was Oscar and Charlotte last year at WrestleMania was a tremendous wrestling match. I'm not putting a label of a gender on it. But more often than not, you're talking about 3 or 4 segments a show now are featuring the women, and the ratings keep going down. The live attendance keeps going down. The merchandising keeps going down. Why does it keep going down if it's that popular?
You trying to compare the males.
I'm comparing it year to year to year to year.
Right.
It's down, down, down.
Yeah, right. The last 4 years. But you are comparing women to a situation that since the beginning of the sport, man had dominated.
Right.
And now women just now. I think this year, starting last year, was the year that they had more than one. Most people can't even name a woman wrestler. They can't.
You mean the general public?
You can't even name one. The reason they're not out there enough, and now they expect them to be like strangers to come out and electrify the world. They still strangers to a lot of wrestling. You buy action figures. Look at all these action figures you got behind you. Look at them. They're all what? Men.
Mostly men, yep.
And you could buy them. You could order them. You get one woman to a pack.
Usually one series is a woman.
One series of women.
One
They never
female and 5
invested in
men.
women. They never did for women what they did for the men. If they do for the women,
Yeah.
if they do with Charlotte and do with Ronda Rousey, what they did with Hogan for 1 month. For 1 month. I mean, they had Hogan in everything. Hulkamania went wild. That's how he got big. Stone Cold, they put him in everything. They pushed the hell out of him. But with the women, they throw them out there and they say, okay, do what you can. But they not giving the women as much as they could give the women. If they promote the women the way they promote the guys, it'd be a whole new ball game.
I think for the past couple of years you've seen pretty much equal
I
treatment.
watch it every week. They just now started doing something with them women.
So
and if you watch old interviews of me, I always mention that. They asked me about, is there any racism in the business?
Yeah.
I told them, I said, I never experienced racism in the business because it didn't matter if you was black, white, as long as you was a male, if you could put asses in the seat,
That's what
they
mattered.
was going to go with you. They didn't care about your color when you're a man. But when it came to a woman,
They
it
cared.
was limitation. And
gotcha.
the women are still had to fight. Even in every job, not just in the wrestling world, we expect more out of a woman. Always have been that person that have to prove themselves. And the reason the ratings it probably is going down there, they don't promote it the same. The storyline is not the same that they would have for a man.
Yeah, they're making them the main event of WrestleMania. I don't know how much harder they could push them.
Well, you got to realize, I'm trying to figure out what is their reason about. Are they making them to main event to try to make money with them, or they're making them the main event so they could get rid of it and don't have to do it no more and say, we tried?
Boston Wrestling Sports and the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE, NXT, and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.